And welcome to another edition of South Texas Now. This is Attorney Joe Flores reminding you to join us each and every week right here on KRIS, affiliate NBC. And special thanks to the Lopez family, also Don Humberto Lozano Lopez, who gave me my first shot. He's honored, he's venerated, and he's never forgotten, even though he's passed away in 2011. Are you kidding? He had 12 kids, and they all love broadcasting, so I love each and every one of them. Thank you, especially Carlos Lopez. And don't forget, please support anything that has to do with autism, learning disabilities, and help people out, because Carlos is one of the greatest dads. You've seen him on my other previous interview about raising children and creating awareness about children with learning disabilities and special needs. With me today, I have a very special guest. She's not only a colleague, but we went to law school together, even though she looks 30 years younger than me. Welcome, Diane. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Diane, we did go to law school together, and we were like the only ones from down here in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
Big shout out to South Texas College of Law. And we traveled the world when we did our, the summer, what do you call it, abroad?
Yes.
And we had a good time there in the Mediterranean, but we had to work hard. But I never really asked you, your background and stuff. We never really talked about that. So tell me a little bit about where you grew up and then your interests in like high school and before that.
Okay. My family's originally from Benavides, Duval County, which is very famous for political reasons.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
So my dad was in the oil field, and since he worked in the oil field, we were able to travel abroad, and I grew up a lot in Guatemala, Venezuela, Ecuador, Scotland, and when we had too much of a thick Scottish accent, my dad said then it was time to come back home to South Texas. So in the third grade, we came back and moved to Kingsville.
What was it like growing up and traveling the world like that? I mean, your dad was probably always busy as a company man and for oil. And we know oil is king in Texas, but did you go to an American school, or what was it like?
We would go to American schools that were completely different than like the regular community, and we lived in American compounds. During the time that we were in Guatemala, the insurrections were going on. You could hear the machine guns going on at night. The overthrow of the political power was going on at that point in time. So we would live in compounds that were protected by security, and then we were escorted on buses that also had security, since we were Americans and they didn't want any of us taken hostages, for political reasons.
And you had siblings too, right? Like Paige?
I have one younger brother who was born abroad, so he did have dual citizenship until he was 18 years old, and now he is, thankfully, an American citizen only now.
That's great. I think I met him once when we were already finishing law school. And what about when you came to the States? What did you like to do? I mean, you're a kind of country gal, right?
Yes. We grew up ranching, so horseback riding. My dad bred beef masters. I've done everything from helping birth calves to insemination to we did a lot of 4-H, FFA. I think that's where I get my principles of giving back to the community as being part of the 4-H and FFA system. Community service has been implanted in me through those organizations. So
you mentioned horses too.
Yes, I do ride. I did cutting horses. We did cutting up until I was in law school. I was able to do cutting, and then, as you know, law school, it's almost impossible to have any other type of lifestyle but reading.
Yeah, So when you graduated from Kingsville.
I did, from HM Kingsville, and at that point in time we were at 5A school. So from Kingsville I decided to go to Texas A&I at that time, not Texas A&M Kingsville.
Right.
By the time I did graduate, though, the name change had occurred already, so I do have a degree with Texas A&M Kingsville on it. And then applied to South Texas College of Law, where then again Texas A&M did try again to buy our law school. So it was seemed like Texas A&M was following me and stalking me throughout my university years.
Yeah. So what made you get into law? I mean, it's almost cliche, people, they ask, but what really motivated you that you had a passion for going into law school?
I originally wanted to do veterinarian science, and I was not able to help with an autopsy of an animal at one point in time, and I just could not handle the blood in the gut on that aspect of that career. So my mom was like, I think you are very argumentative, and I think law school would be very good for you. So my mom was the one that encouraged me to go into law school, and I did find my place. I think our second year of law school was where I found like a passion for the law. I was not until studying wills, trusts, estates, that's where I found what I liked in law school. Up until that point, I was just kind of like floundering, not really knowing like, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? But
yeah, I think you scored like AmJurt, or we call it like the highest score on the exam, and then we have the haters in law school, yeah, I could have done that, but because it's so competitive in law school. For those of you who don't know, it's not a piece of cake to get in, plus you get better jobs with better grades, etc. So you were an excellent student. The thing was, now you mentioned your dad in the oil field, but your mom, she was in education, right?
Yes, education was my mom's passion. My parents got married very young, right out of high school. She graduated in May, got married in June. So she only married my dad if he promised to let her continue her education, and she went all the way and was able to get her superintendent degree. So she started as a teacher. Her first job was in Alice, Texas, as a teacher. And
Go Coyotes!
Then she went to Fremont. She worked in all the school districts around the South Texas area. She eventually became a principal for Ricardo ISD, and then they moved down to the Valley to Mission, and she was a principal there until she retired.
Wow. So, yeah, and I got the pleasure to meet your parents all those years ago. So how did you end up meeting your husband, who you guys have been together how long?
28 years.
Yeah, and he was a banker when I met him.
Yes.
Well, actually, he was like something from Lord of the Rings. It was at a Halloween party. He had those big ears, and he tried to tell me I'm in your law school class. So he freaked me out. He has got a great sense of humor. And I said, "Oh, you're Diane's husband." And then I'm looking at this blue-eyed, blonde-haired guy with big ears, right?
Yes.
And he's from where, Rivera?
He is actually from Ricardo.
Ricardo, sorry.
Ricardo, yes. Clint and I knew each other through FFA. He was an officer, and back then it wasn't like it is today, where social media, our kids kind of know everybody from the different communities. Like, I think mostly we hung out with just people in our high school. So with FFA, we were able to actually know other individuals from different towns. So that's how we initially met, and then we re-met in college there at A&I.
And not to, just as an aside, FFA is one of the most challenging things for a number of reasons. I get envelopes from people that are raising an animal. I give what I can, and they send the really cute pictures of different animal livestock that they're raising. And so did you participate, both you and Clint, in that?
Yes, I with FFA, which is Future Farmers of America. It's a very broad program. It's a curriculum that's also taught in school. So you can take agro-science, where you learn about actual animals, the different type of species, to the different type of crops that you could raise. Then you can move on to different specialties. I've taken welding classes, workshop classes, anything that you would have to run a ranch or a farm, they teach you in those classes. So it was a class full of boys with just a couple of us girls that would hang out and do the projects with the boys. But you don't always have to just raise animals. There's a lot of different aspects of being an FFA. They have competitions for speaking, animal judging, textile industry is very big. So just having the background of being an FFA, it gives you a very big sense of what type of employment you can do, coming out of high school without a 4-year degree. There's a lot of careers that are, thrown at you from freshman year on, of what you can do with your hands and your knowledge that you walk out of the FFA program with. So I am a great supporter of FFA. I think it made me.
I mean, it's a tremendous responsibility, too, for the young person to raise livestock or an animal.
Yes.
And so I encourage everybody out there to support FFA because, farming, ranching, I mean, that's in our life's blood here in South Texas. Now, we've got a couple of minutes before the break. I just wanted to touch on your husband a little bit briefly. He was a banker,
yes,
and then he went back to law school as well.
Yes, Clint was actually one of the vice presidents for Chase Bank in Houston, Texas, handling multi-million-dollar accounts with car dealerships. Mm-hmm. Then he decided that he would like to open a restaurant, and I told him that I would only support him if he went to law school, because I knew that he did not want to do that, but he did do it. He graduated, and now we do have a law practice that we've been doing for the past 8 years together.
Zimmerman and Elizondo, the Zimmerman law firm right there in Kingsville, right down from there from the courthouse.
Yes.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about that, how justice is in the rural areas and the problems people face there. But I just want to thank our sponsors, Vasquez Flores Home Health, 361-881-9922. Want an exciting career helping people? Or you have someone in your home that needs at least a couple hours a day to help them. I know that you free caregivers at home, whether it be a daughter or a son or a nephew or a niece or a neighbor, you guys are tired. So if you need and see if they qualify, call us, 361-881-9922. And we also want to thank the Lopez family, Lopez Broadcasting, Carlos Lopez. He's been around a long, long time, and we also simultaneously broadcast this on KTMV and also on his hot station 104.9, among others, even K Alamo in San Antonio. So we're going to take a brief break. You're listening and watching Diane Elizondo Zimmerman, who is a lawyer. When we come back, we're going to talk about wills, trusts, and estates.